Welcome to this video. Today we will be providing you with an introduction to projects in R2. In IT systems across the music industry, you will find the concept of a project, although it could have been called by another name. So, what is a project? According to the Digital Data Exchange, or DDEX, which is an organization that focuses on setting data standards across the music industry, a project combines together many sound recordings, recording components, sessions, musical works, and data carriers. A project might be a 12-song album, or it could simply be a remix. A project could be a compilation of older recordings from different projects, or a project could also be a various artist type of compilation. According to the UMG Data Dictionary, found on our info portal, a project is an object with a unique identifier that is created to house the repertoire delivered against a period within an artist recording contract. So what exactly do we mean by the repertoire delivered against a period within an artist recording contract? An R2 project is a container that should typically hold all of the data that relates to a certain marketing campaign, and therefore a certain financial budget. Traditionally, a period within an artist recording contract refers to an album cycle. So, for a 3-album record deal, you would expect to find 3 projects, one for each album to contain all the supporting content created. I like to think of a project as a bucket, and this bucket contains all the metadata for any content related to the marketing and financial campaign for the album. All the recordings, videos, images, singles, albums, merchandise, apps, ringtones, and contributors that are of any relevance will be captured here. So it makes sense that each new album campaign will have its own project. Bear in mind, though, a project may not necessarily be for an album's worth of material, nor necessarily for new material. It could be a greatest hits or best of type release. In this scenario, your project will contain new releases, but some of the content will often have already been set up and used in many other existing projects in R2. Additionally, non-album-based activity may require its own project. For example, one-off singles, EPs or collaborations, live performance content, or merchandise deals not directly related to the artist recording contract. And finally, multi-artist, various artist compilations or soundtracks will require their own projects. These may contain content owned by many different labels and repertoire owners, both internal and external to UMG, and perhaps set up and used in many other existing projects in R2. So, I mentioned that a project is like a bucket, a big parent bucket that holds other smaller child buckets. It holds the works, talents, releases, and resources, each in their own subfolder or bucket within the project. But wait, shouldn't we define these other buckets so we can get a clearer idea of what actually lives in a project? We'll discuss each of these data items in greater detail in other videos. But for now, talents are artist names, individuals, brands and label imprints, bands, groups, fictional characters, producers, studio musicians, composers. Basically, any entity or name that needs to be credited within R2 metadata. The best way to visualize a work is as a piece of sheet music. Works represent the intellectual property of the songwriters, composers, and lyricists. Works can be performed or recorded, but works on their own are not recordings or performances. They are rather just the script. Copyright and ownership of works is the domain of music publishers. Resources or any tangible asset, a sound recording, a music video, t-shirts or novelty mugs, an image, cover art, or screen captures, software, or even mobile applications. Releases are a grouping of selected resources in a distributable format, either physical or digital, and come in a wide variety of formats and configurations. So now that we have defined what belongs in a project, let's take a look at what else we can do. We can set up contributors at project level, and where we are involved in or have visibility of any recording studio processes, we can set up recording sessions. If we set up all of our recording sessions at project level, it may make things much easier for us when we are ready to set up resources. You'll learn more about that in another R2 training video. We can manage default embargo settings for releases within our project. Embargo settings help control the flow of data out of R2 in advance of release date in order to prevent any leaks of track listings, audio, video, or artwork. This functionality is covered by another training video, which you can find on the info portal. All R2 projects belong to a certain company, division, label combination. This indicates which company under the UMG umbrella is responsible for the administration of or owns any data created within that project. The data admin by and label bracket division fields are collectively known as the CDL. Data admin by is another way of saying the owning company of that data. Setting the right CDL is perhaps the most important consideration when creating a project. This decision has many direct influences, including finance tab values for all data created within a project, so where the money goes, how global royalties process ICLA income for international sales, so where the international money goes, who is considered responsible for rights data, and clearances pertaining to repertoire data administered within the project. Who is considered responsible for the production workflow processes within the project, and company and label names that we send to digital supply partners. Once these decisions have been made and your project has been saved, R2 will generate a unique project ID. Again, super important. This project ID and the chosen CDL directly influence where the money goes and how it is associated to a given budget. On the one side, there are costs to sign an artist, advances in recording costs, marketing spends, tour support, and on the flip side, all eventual income from sales of physical products like CDs or vinyl or merchandise, or digital downloads, streaming revenue, income from collection societies, and sync licensing. Also, UGC claiming for usage of our content on YouTube. This all needs to be accounted for and associated with the correct budget. UMG financial departments have a whole heap of buckets. Okay, I know, more buckets. But whether it's ensuring that all the revenue reaches the correct profit center by specifying the correct CDL, or ensuring all repertoire within a campaign is set up within the same project, we all need to play our part to ensure clean and correct project setup so that revenue flows correctly and UMG keeps running smoothly. Please note, projects in North America are set up by the Label Production Department designee in Atlas, which ensures all financial and royalty account information attached to the project are correct. Outside of North America, most R2 edit users will have the permissions to create projects, but will take instruction to do so from their local label finance department. If you're ever in doubt, please check with your label finance before creating a new project. For amendments to CDLs of projects in North America, please initially contact your metadata specialist. Project CDL changes may incur a transfer of ownership or move mapping request that will require involvement from the Central Accounting Services and the Atlas team. For the rest of the world, please contact Global Metadata Ops at umusic.com with any request to amend existing projects or their CDLs. Finally, rights and business affairs teams use R2 projects to assist in linking repertoire to artist or label agreements so we know how and where we can exploit our content. A&R, production, and metadata teams all use projects in R2 for creation, administration, and maintenance of repertoire data. So, you can see that a lot of the family members in UMG are involved or have a vested interest in R2 projects, how they are set up, and what they contain. That completes this training session. Good luck putting what you have learned into practice.